Hello, and welcome to the Bamboo Lab podcast with your host, Peak Performance Coach Brian Bosley. Are you stuck on the hamster wheel of life, spinning and spinning, but not really moving forward? Are you ready to jump off and soar? Are you finally ready to sculpt your life? If so, you've landed in the right place. This podcast is created and broadcast just for you. All of you strivers, thrivers, and survivors out there. If you'd like to learn more about Brian and the Bamboo Lab, feel free to reach out to explore your true peak level at www.bamboolab3.com.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Let's dissect. To update on the analytics, as of 3 minutes ago, we are now being broadcast and subscribed to on 6 continents, 38 countries, all 50 states, and 913 cities. So thank you, all of you Bamboo Pack, for listening and sharing. It's just an honor to serve you each week. I want to read one heart letter that came in earlier this week, and it was regarding the episode we broadcast last week with Stacy Weaver, such an amazing lady. This gentleman said, I heard the entire show. Just now it hit home in some ways to me, and maybe this is just me, but it shared with me to be the best you can be and just live life in what makes you happy, because there's always those that will love you and hate you. It's just how life is. Your saying is, don't let anyone steal your sunshine is amazing. Ain't no two people the same. We are all unique. So honor everyone and honor yourself. That was an amazing letter to hear and read, and I want to thank Stacy for pulling that out of that gentleman. Today's episode is dedicated to a man whose life was cut short just a few short weeks ago. This goes out to Andy from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, and all of his loved ones and friends, including my niece, Era. And when I pulled up Andy's profile on Facebook, the last post he put was a meme that said, what screws us up in most in life is the picture in our head of how it's supposed to be. This one's for you, Andy. All right. I'm going to start off with a couple of questions. Oh, you're stuck with me this week. We've had so many letters and emails come in asking for me to sprinkle in some of these monologues in between the interviews that we have. So this is one. It's a class training I did for a client last week, and I thought this is good. This is good material. Let's share this with the Bamboo Pack. So I'll start off with a question. Are you right now in the game of life? Are you playing the game of life to win? Or are you simply playing the game of life not to lose? There's a vast difference between the two. Are you playing the game of life to win? Or are you simply playing it not to lose? There are 3 types of people that I've met in the course of my journey. And those 3 are visionaries, apologists, and pipe dreamers. Well, we all know what visionaries are. They're the people out there, the men and women who change the course of the world. Maybe not the entire globe, but they change the course of the world in the best manner that they can. They don't have to be world-renowned, famous, rich, successful, but they live life with the purpose of always moving forward, always improving themselves, sculpting their lives, helping others to sculpt their life. And they have this vision of where they want to go. I love visionaries. When we talked about a few months ago, the episode on food and poison, and we talked about toxic people a few weeks ago, visionaries are your true food-style nourishing people in the world. I love them. I love surrounding myself with people who have that visionary mindset. And I don't care of their socioeconomic status or what they do for a living. I just want them to have a vision and watch them thrive and strive toward that every single day. Then you have these apologists. Apologists probably make up the vast majority of the planet. I would probably think 90% of the world is apologetic. What I mean by apologists is they walk through life apologizing for taking up space. They just have this this sense that, well, they're on the hamster wheel and they're spinning and they're spinning and they don't know where to go. Now, these are good people. These are good people, but they're stuck. And my guess is a lot of the listeners today, maybe you feel stuck right now. Maybe you want to be that visionary and you want to get off that hamster wheel. We're going to talk a little bit today on the real cost of not living the life of a visionary. I pity apologists. I feel bad for them. I like them. I love many of them. I just feel bad for them because they have so much potential in them. So much more potential for happiness, success, health, love. And they just don't know how to grab that brass ring. Then the third type of people I don't like. They're pipe dreamers. I just don't like pipe dreamers. They drain me. These are the people who are consistently talking about what they're going to do tomorrow, where they're going to go, where they're going to take this. They're going to start their side hustle. They're going to start their business. They're going to go to college. They're going to finally ask that woman out on a date, and then nothing comes to fruition. They might be good people, but they drain me, and they probably drain you because they're repeating. They're constantly telling lies. They don't know they're lying, but they're lying. I'm going to give you a couple of dates. December 17th, 1903 is the first date. You probably don't know exactly what I'm talking about yet, so I'll give you two more hints. 120 feet, 12 seconds. That's the date we finally, as human beings, took a heavier-than-air apparatus and we flew. The Wright brothers. Kitty Hawk. I want you to think. I don't know what your religious or secular beliefs might be. Excuse me. But we're just going to say that the humans have been on this planet for hundreds of thousands of years. Okay? Some people think it's shorter. Some people think it's longer. I really don't know. I don't care. It's been a long time. Let's just settle at 100,000. It took us 100,000 years to go 12 seconds and go 120 feet off the earth. But then I'll give you the second date. July 20th, 1969. Yes, we went to the moon. We flew 250,000 miles. Those astronauts were gone for 8 days, and at times in frictionless space, they were flying between 15 and 20,000 miles per hour. Mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. I still think going to the moon is mind-boggling. But what's most mind-boggling is that 66-year stretch between 1903 and 1969. It took us 100,000 or so years just to go 12 seconds and 120 feet in the air. But then a mere 66 years later, we went to the moon. Why? We had a vision. We had a vision that was led by President John F. Kennedy when he said, we will send a man to the moon and bring him back safely within this decade. We bought into it. The country wrapped its arms and hearts around the vision. Isn't it crazy what a vision can do? There wasn't this vast vision before 1903 to leave Earth. Most people thought it was impossible. People were just trying to get through the day-to-day of tough, rough living in the 1800s. But when a country, a collective, led by one man, one statement, one vision, can wrap their heads and hearts around that vision, magical things can happen in a relatively short period of time. I'm going to ask you a question right now. In your life, are you right now somewhere before 1903 where you really haven't accomplished that first goal to get to your vision? Or do you feel like you're grinding and grinding and grinding, but you're not even leaving the earth at all? If you are, stick with it. In fact, increase what you're doing, improve what you're doing, put a maniacal, obsessive focus on what you're doing. Because as soon as you hit that first goal, magic starts to happen. Magic. It might take you 100,000 metaphorical years to go at 12 seconds, 120 feet, but I'll guarantee in 66 metaphorical years after that, you're going to be going to the moon. As long as you have a vision. And a vision is a really difficult thing to live without. Let's talk a little bit about what it means to not have a vision. Because some people think, I have a pretty good life. Why do I have to have these grand visions? Why do I always have to improve myself? Why can't I just go to work, come home, cut the grass, watch football, drink a beer, get up and do it again tomorrow? You can. But don't you ever expect, if you do that, don't you ever expect to die and meet the man you could have been by looking in the mirror, or the woman you could have been. Because you will never become the man or woman you could have been by living as an apologist or a pipe dreamer. So let's talk a little bit about, some people say, well, it's really risky being a visionary. It's scary. Oh, hell yeah, it's scary. And before I go into this, I want to preface, I have been every one of these things. At times in my life, I've been a pipe dreamer. At times in my life, I've been an apologist. And at times in my life, I've been a visionary. And it's a whole lot more damn fun to be a visionary. And sometimes it might vacillate by the day. But the key is that you focus that more and more every day on becoming more of a visionary every single day and letting those two other attributes fade away. But back to being the fear and the dangers of being a visionary. Oh, hell yeah. They're out there. One of them is I sometimes get so wrapped up in my vision of life, both personally and professionally, that when something happens bad, it can tumble me down a rabbit hole because I'm so obsessed about it. So you have to make sure you're on guard that when that happens, you might have to let yourself fall down for a day or two, but you got to pick yourself right back up and keep moving toward that vision. If you're living as an apologist and you're going to work and something bad happens, you shrug it off and go back to work the next day. You get a paycheck on Friday. Visionaries are much more connected, much more implanted in their day-to-day vision and the profession, the career, the vocation, and the life they choose to live. So when something happens, they can take it very personally. Another disadvantage or fear of living life as a visionary is when you get to the poker table, you don't put one or two chips down. Every day you're laying all of your chips on the table and you're betting on yourself. That's scary. But my God, is it exciting. And to know that you have so much confidence in yourself and in your abilities and your grit and grind and your toughness that you're willing to put those chips on the table, every single one of them, empty your pockets and bet on yourself, gamble on you. Whew, that builds something, man. That builds something extremely powerful. Okay, so there are some risks. There are some dangers to living life as a visionary. But let me share with you some of the dangers of living life as a non-visionary, as either a pipe dreamer or an apologist. First one, I think this might be the most important one. Passion spills out. Passion bleeds. Passion leaks. You cannot be an apologist or a pipe dreamer at work and come home and be a visionary. You can't be Clark Kent at work and come home and be Superman, or vice versa. You can't be Clark Kent at home and be Superman at work. No, it doesn't mean that if you live the life of an apologist or a pipe dreamer, you can't be a great spouse or a father or a grandfather or son, daughter. No, you just can't be the best one you can be. Because the lack of passion, the lack of vision in one aspect of your life bleeds over to the others.
Stay with us. We'll be right back. Hey, wellness coaches, practitioners, and healers, starting and growing your online business can make you feel like you're trying to cross the desert without a map. You want to know how to find clients who do the work. You want to bring in more money than you need each and every month. You want to know how to get more engagement on social media and feel more confident when you show up online. I'm Kendra Perry. I used to be a functional health coach, and now my mission is to help you create a business you love that brings you freedom plus income while transforming lives. Join me on the Wealthy Coach podcast to get the secrets and strategies to grow a wildly successful online virtual practice. You can tune in on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Another disadvantage of living life as a non-visionary: our kids get the wrong message. I had an experience 27 years ago. I was working for a large Fortune 500 company. I was a young and up-and-coming leader, and I was living about 300 miles from my daughter. I would see her mostly on the weekends, and some weekends when we were working 60, 70, 75 hours a week, there was very little time as I built my career and built myself. So I went to my vice president and I met him in his office in Detroit, Michigan. And I said, John, I think I'm going to quit. I think I have to quit. And he looked at me, he said, what the hell? Why? I said, well, I don't feel like I'm spending any time with my daughter as she's growing up. And I don't think that's the best choice for her. So I said, I'm going to apply at a bank in my hometown and just work at a bank. And not that there's anything wrong with working at a bank. It just wasn't my vision. It's other people's vision. And he said, well, let me ask you a question. What's the number one attribute you want Ashley to walk away with in life? What do you want her to be when she grows up? I said, happy. He said, okay. Do you think it's easier to be happy when you are chasing your vision and your dreams, or if you're settling in life? So, well, chasing your dreams and vision is a lot happier. The third question, he says, so how do you think you can teach your daughter to be happy and to live her vision when you're unhappy and not living your vision? It stuck with me. 27 years later, that message stuck with me. I ended up leaving the company a year later to start my consulting firm, but that message resonated with me. It's hard to be. We want our children to grow up happy and to be visionaries and to chase their dreams. But it's hard to teach that, preach that, and parent that when we're not doing it ourselves. Another disadvantage of living life, or danger, I should say, of living life of a non-visionary, is our minds become complacent. They atrophy because we're not challenging ourselves. After 10 years of living life as an apologist or a pipe dreamer, you haven't really lived 10 years. You've lived 1 year, and you just simply repeated it 10 times. When you live the life of a visionary, every year you're putting in 10 years of experience and wisdom and learnings into every single year. Your mind does not have time to become complacent or atrophy. Another big danger, and I think this is probably the one where when I talk about toxic people or poisonous people, I think so often this is the case, is why they're that way. When you live life like as a non-visionary, cynicism takes place. Pettiness settles in. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you took 1,000, 1,000,000, 1,000,000,000, trillion people. If you looked at who the happier people are, it's the people who are chasing dreams and goals. People who have a purpose, a job, a vocation, a career, a calling. Every time I meet somebody who has chosen not to work, and even work in a standard job, they want to sit home, they want to collect or welfare or whatever it might be, they're always the unhappiest of people. So often we see people who have worked all their lives and retired and died a year later simply because they had nothing to work for, nothing to shoot for. That's dangerous. I can tell you the meanest people in my world, my personal life, are the people who don't have jobs. Because when you do that, what do? You sit home You probably watch a lot of television. Television is not good for you, especially the mass media, the news sources. They're not giving good news. They're not giving anything that helps your brain. They're telling you all the bad things that you want to hear. And confirmation bias sets in. So your mind simply starts to continue to look for that information, the bad news, the scary things, and your brain goes down a really dark, dark rabbit hole. Another danger of non-visionary living is you make less money. The beauty of my career that I was so blessed to be able to work in over the past 26 years, and now this podcast this year, is I get the chance to meet so many visionaries, talk to them on the phone, coach some of them, interview them on the podcasts, meet them in person, do training sessions for them and their teams. They make more money. They just simply do. I would have to guess that the average income of my clients and my podcast guests is much higher than the general public. It's not because they're more talented, or maybe even not even any more hardworking. It's they have a vision of where they're going in life, and they work toward it every day. If you look at what all of us learned in college or high school in econ class, probably first day, what determines success in a free market? Supply and demand. You want the demand to be high and the supply to be low, so you can come in there and be a supplier. But that's when we're talking about products and services, that makes sense. But when we're talking about human beings and your ability to earn money, we're going to reword supply and demand. We're going to say it's this: your determinant of success, financial success in your job, your world right now, is two things. How important your job is, number one, and number two, how many people can do it. How important your job is demand, and how many people can do it is supply. So think about what you do right now in life. How important is your job? How important is the way you live your life? Not even just your job, but how you live your life. How important is that? If you simply go to work every day and come home, watch TV, drink a beer, and do it again the next day, hey, God bless you, man. I love many people who do that. But I want more. I want people to have more in their lives. So your vision doesn't have to be wrapped around your job. It can be wrapped around something you love to do on the side. Just where you want to take your job and your life, and your job is simply a tool to get you there. That's perfect. You can still live a visionary lifestyle that way. But going back to the question, how important is the way you live your life? How important is your job? I'm assuming it's pretty important. Both your job and the way you live your life. The second question is, but how many people can do it? See, if you live your life as an apologist or a pipe dreamer, shit, everybody can do that. In fact, the vast majority of the country or the world is, the vast majority. But if you live life as a visionary, you have that vision of where you're going with your personal life, your professional life, your family, your physical health, your intellectual health, whatever it might be. Very few people can do that. Or I should say, very few people are doing that. So just by the laws of economics 101, the demand is high, but the supply is low. And that's why visionaries make more money. Another danger, a real danger of living as a non-visionary is you don't live as long. Every study I've ever read, and they come out more and more every week, people who have a vision, a purpose in life are healthier, physically, mentally, spiritually, intellectually, and they live longer than those who don't. Having something to pull you forward, something to go for, a dream to shoot for, a focus, like I call it a maniacal obsessive focus, that keeps you on the planet a lot longer. Another danger is when you're living life as an apologist or a pipe dreamer, how creative is that? Man, life, when we talk about creativity so often, we're thinking of, painters and sculptors and artists. No, creativity is sculpting the best life possible. Creativity is thinking at a level that blows your own mind and other people's minds away. It's doing something that changes the world and serves others and helps yourself along the way. When you're a non-visionary, it's a very boring, dull, and uncreative lifestyle. And think about this as we wrap this section of the episode up. The average human being works about 84,000 years or hours out of their life. Roughly 83 to 84,000. So if you were to take that right there is almost 10 years. If you were to go to work and work the next 10 years 24/7, I'm not talking coming home for 10 years. You go to work and you stay at work for a full 10 years and you never stop working. That's a long time. And when you go have a profession or a career that you're just going through the motions in, I ask why? You're there anyway. You're stuck there. Be the best damn you can be there. Find a way to make your job, your profession, your calling, even if you don't like it right now, find a way to make it something you can sink your teeth into. Find a purpose within that. And if you can't, go get a different job, a different profession, a different calling. No matter what your age. We have to find a way to be visionaries throughout the day where we are now. And if we can't, we got to go somewhere else. I think most of you have known that my father died November 4th, 1971. His 51st, is it 51st? Wow. 51st anniversary of his death is actually this Friday. My dad was a mechanic by trade. I mean, he was a good mechanic, very well trusted in a small community, worked with honor, was a gifted mechanic. But that wasn't his vision. That's not what my dad was known for. My dad, by weekends and evenings, my dad was a country music singer and lead guitarist and singer for a couple of bands locally. That's where my dad shined. When he got up on that stage and he was singing, he became the visionary. He was chasing his vision, his dream, to the point where 2 to 3 months before my father passed, his manager got a call from Johnny Becker, or Dickie Becker, and he told Dickie Becker, I want Jack Bosley. I don't want the whole band, I just want Jack. So right before my dad's visions and dreams were finally coming to fruition, he dropped dead of a massive heart attack at age 36. But here's some things I've heard about my dad from people, and I've written these down, and I've carried them with me. One person said, he stole the show. He got up there, he stole the show. One person said his eyes, his voice, and passion lit up the room. And this is my favorite one. Somebody said, I don't really know. There was just something different about him. Well, hell yeah. He was a visionary stuck in a world of apologists. So my question for you is, my dad was a good mechanic. But my dad also told myself and my brothers when I was very young, if either one of you ever pick up a wrench, I'm going to hit you with it. There's a lot easier way to make a living. That wasn't his passion. And that's not the story that he left with us. When I think of my dad, I don't think of a mechanic. Not that there's anything wrong with being a mechanic. It's a very honorable, difficult trade. It just wasn't for him. It was a job for him. But when I think of my dad, I picture him up on the stage, even though I never saw him on a stage. I picture him up on that stage. I picture him glowing. I picture him playing the guitar, singing into the microphone, smiling, and his eyes shining to the world. That's what he left. What do you want to leave? I have a real strong passion for this subject. I really do. I really do. And here's why. When I left the Fortune 500 company back in 1996, I lost everything. I mean, I was young. I didn't have a lot to lose. But I lost just about every one of my friends because for the 5 years we were there, we were a young, very hardworking, gritty, grinded out class of people. We worked long hours together. We lived together. We traveled together. We didn't go anywhere without the group from our company. We traveled in a really fairly large pack. So when I left the company, and the company left me. I had a sky blue Saab 900. And just a short couple of months after I left the company, I had to drive it up to the dealership, hand the keys in, and give it up to repossession. I could not make the payments. And I walked back to my apartment. When I started this consulting firm back when it was still called Bannon Enterprise, or that was what it was called, I didn't have a phone. I lived in a 2-bit little shack out in Pinckney, Michigan, that had squirrels in it. I mean, it was an old dentist shack. This dentist owned it, and he rented it to myself and a friend of mine. And I didn't have a phone. I had a pager. And when I would, do some marketing, I would get phone calls, and I'd have to run on my bike or walk down to the little corner store, pick up the payphone, and call the person back, whether it's a prospect or a client. I remember looking in the couch and getting my daughter's piggy bank to pay some of the bills. And it was a struggle for the first year to 12 to 15 months. I got my first client literally 1 week after I left the firm and started the consulting firm. And at a certain point, because my car kept breaking down, he had to lend me his 16-year-old daughter's car. How humbling is that when you have to go to the only client you have and say, do you think you can lend me your daughter's car? I can borrow your daughter's car for a week till I get mine repaired? So this is what I had to look back on over the years. That time of my life was pure hell. It was torture. It was humbling. It was embarrassing. I felt like a failure. But now when I look back at it, it was the most magical time of my life. Because what it did to me is it proved to me that I wanted my vision so damn bad that I would go through having very little money, living in a shack, not having a phone, losing a car to repossession, having to be humble and embarrassed at times. The vision pulled me forward. So my question to you is, what is it out there that you have such a strong desire, this obsessive maniacal desire to achieve, this vision, that you would go through something like I went through 26 years ago? You would be willing to do that to get to where you want to go. That's your vision. Get out there and catch it. Before we want to wrap up today, folks, I want to wish my amazing son, Dawson Bosley, a 20th birthday. Not coincidentally or not, my son was born 31 years to the day that my father passed away. So that day for 31 years marked a dark time in the life of my family. Until 20 years ago, he came along and saved the day by being born. Son, I love you. I'm so very proud of you and the man you've become and the man you're going to continue to become. And I can't wait for you to come home this afternoon so we can do some bird hunting. All right, folks, please hit that like button, subscribe button. We need those algorithms to continue to grow. I'm so happy and appreciative of all of you. Please share this episode with 3 people who might just need a little poke, a little push to find that vision, to get off that hamster wheel. And please, write us a review. We'd love to see what you have to say. Rate us, review us. In the meantime, get out there. Sculpt your life. I appreciate you all.